Imagine spending your life building a home, raising your son, and sacrificing everything, only to be treated like the help in the house you paid for. What happens when a 72-year-old woman decides she's done being invisible? Stay with me, because this story will change the way you see family forever. And if you love powerful revenge stories, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. You won't want to miss how this ends. My name is Helen Armstrong, and I never imagined my own family would make me feel like a stranger in my own home. It started on a Thursday evening that should have been a celebration. My daughter-in-law, Samantha, had just been promoted, youngest regional operations manager in her company's history. My son Mark and their kids were thrilled. There was tacos, champagne, expensive dinners, the Skyline Grill with its 85 entrees and panoramic view. As I flipped pancakes in the kitchen, I smiled genuinely and said, "Congratulations, Samantha." She barely looked up from her toast. Mark wrapped his arms around her. "We have to celebrate," he said. "Skyline Grill," Samantha declared. "Tonight's on me." The kids cheered. I wiped my hands on my apron and asked, "What time should I make the reservation?" Samantha turned to me with a polite but sharp smile. "Oh, Helen, it's just an intimate dinner. You know, direct family. My mom's driving in." Her words stabbed. Direct family. I had raised Mark alone after my husband passed. I had sold the house we built over 42 years to help them buy theirs. I was the one making breakfast at dawn, folding laundry, ironing Mark's shirts, paying nearly $1,000 every month from my pension to cover their mortgage. But tonight, I wasn't family. I was the help. They left around 11 a.m. Samantha changed outfits 3 times. Mark kissed my forehead without looking me in the eyes and said, "Don't wait up, Mom." The house grew silent. I sat at the kitchen table with a 2-packet of instant soup, the same kitchen I'd scrubbed clean earlier, the same table where their kids drew pictures for me. But that night, it felt like a stranger's house. At 7 p.m., against my better judgment, I opened Instagram. There they were, Samantha radiant in a red dress, holding champagne, the kids eating shrimp, Mark smiling in the shirt I ironed that morning. 9 people laughing around a sparkling dinner table. Samantha's mom, siblings, friends, everyone except me. The caption read, "Celebrating the Queen's promotion. Skyline Grill Family Goals." No one noticed I was missing. I closed the app. Moments later, my phone vibrated. A message from Samantha, "Helen, remember to heat up the leftovers in the fridge. Don't waste them." I stared at the screen. Not once, not twice. 3 times. Something inside me shattered, quietly, like porcelain breaking in slow motion. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. A cold calm spread through me. Because what Samantha didn't know was that I had been preparing for this moment for months. I stood, went to my room, and opened my closet. Behind old shoeboxes was my sewing box, and inside, the deed to the house. In my name. Only mine. Only mine. I had never transferred it to Mark. Some part of me, the part that had survived decades of marriage and raising a son alone, had known I'd need to protect myself. I pulled out a worn spiral notebook. Every payment, every expense, every repair for 3 years was written inside. Down payment, $68,000. Monthly mortgage contributions, $920 x 36 months. Renovations, furniture, appliances, total $136,800. Everything I'd earned, everything my late husband and I built. I picked up my phone and called my niece Megan, a family lawyer. "Aunt Helen?" "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing's wrong," I said, my voice steady. "For the first time in years, everything's right. I need your help with a legal matter. About my house." She listened to my story. When I finished, she whistled. "Aunt Helen, this is legal gold. You have every document, the deeds in your name. You could evict them, charge back rent, anything." "Then let's start tomorrow morning." I made 2 more calls, one to an old notary friend and one to my dearest friend Linda, asking if the spare room she mentioned was still available. It's yours, she said firmly. Come tomorrow. Enough is enough. Before packing, I copied 17 secret audio recordings from my pocket recorder to a USB drive. For 6 months, I had recorded conversations when they thought I wasn't listening. Samantha bragging to her friends, "It's like having a free maid. She gets up early, cooks, cleans, and best part, she's family, so I don't have to pay her." Mark's voice, hesitant but complicit, "I'll think about it," when she suggested sending me to a nursing home once I became useless. I also saved screenshots of her posts and receipts they threw away. Everything. At 11:30 p.m., as their last Instagram story showed dessert, I packed my essentials: clothes, photographs of my late husband, my rosary, my Italian coffee maker, the deeds. Each object was a piece of me they had taken for granted. I left a letter on Mark's pillow. For 3 years, I lived in this house as a ghost. I cooked, cleaned, paid bills, and swallowed humiliations in silence. Tonight, I made a decision. You will find documents on your nightstand. Read them carefully. We'll speak next with lawyers present. Love doesn't mean letting you walk over me. Mom. And a sticky note on the deed, this house is in my name. It always was. 36,800. See you at the notary's office. I walked out quietly. Called an Uber from the corner. When the driver asked if it was a long trip, I looked out at the house fading in the distance. No, I said. It's a journey back to myself. As the car drove away, I imagined them arriving home, tipsy and laughing, only to find the bedroom empty, the deeds on the nightstand, and their world flipped upside down. At 1:23 a.m., Mark's car pulled into the driveway. The gate guard waved them through, unaware of the storm about to break. Samantha leaned against Mark's shoulder, laughing. 3 glasses of wine, 2 of champagne, and a tequila toast glowing in her cheeks. Mark wasn't much better. Shh, Samantha giggled. Don't wake your mom. She deserves the night off, Mark replied, fumbling with the keys. They pushed the door open. Silence. Only the hallway light upstairs glowed faintly. Mom? Mark called. No answer. Samantha turned on the living room light. Her frown was instant. The Persian rug was gone. The embroidered pillows. The coastal paintings David had gifted me on anniversaries. My Italian coffee maker missing from the kitchen. My toothbrush, my rosary, my books, all gone. Did she move things? Samantha muttered. Mark ran upstairs. My room was immaculate, but stripped. Closet empty except for hangers. Drawers bare, no clothes. No shoes, no photos. What the hell? Samantha whispered. On his pillow, my letter. On his nightstand, the manila envelope. Mark tore it open with shaking hands. His eyes scanned the deed. Once. Twice. His face strained. This can't be real. Samantha snatched the papers. Her eyes widened. It's in her name? The entire house? Mark collapsed onto the bed. She paid the down payment. I didn't have anything. It's always been hers. And the sticky note? Samantha whispered. He read it aloud. 136,800 to be exact. Samantha swayed. Are you telling me your mother invested over $100,000 and you never transferred the property? Mark's voice was hollow. We never got around to it. The shouting began, Samantha pacing like a cornered animal. We've lived here 3 years. This is my house. It's her house, Mark said quietly. Legally, it's always been hers. Then demand she gives it to you. She's your mother. She owes you. Mark's head snapped up, his voice cracked. Like the obligation we had to treat her with respect? To not exclude her from dinner? To not send her that damn text about leftovers? Samantha froze. It was just a joke. It was humiliating, he yelled. For the first time in 3 years, my son defended me, but it was too late. Upstairs, their children had woken. 9-year-old Ethan cried on the stairs, confused. 6-year-old Lily called out, "Where's Grandma?" Mark dialed my number. Once. Twice. 10 times. No answer. Text after text flooded my phone as I slept peacefully under Linda's floral quilt, chamomile tea in my hand. By morning, my Facebook post had spread. It wasn't elaborate, just one line. After 3 years of caring for a family that made me invisible, I learned that self-love isn't selfishness, it's survival. Hundreds of comments poured in. Old neighbors, book club friends, distant cousins. Women sharing their own stories of exploitation, silence, sacrifice. Messages like, "I've been living with my daughter for 5 years and this hit me hard. Thank you, Helen. Tomorrow, I'm telling my son we need boundaries." At 8 a.m., I sat in Megan's sleek downtown office with the manila envelope, the receipts notebook, the USB of recordings and photographs. She spread everything across the desk like a chess master setting her pieces. "Aunt Helen," she said, eyes gleaming, "they don't stand a chance. We can go full eviction, charge back rent, or something in between. What do you want?" "I want them to understand what they lost," I said. "Not just property. Me." Megan nodded. "Then we'll make them feel it." By 11:47 a.m., the legal summons went out to Mark Armstrong and Samantha Ruiz. "You are required to appear at Notary Hector Salinas' office on Monday, March 18, at 10:00 a.m. to resolve matters of property and occupancy." Meanwhile, my phone buzzed nonstop. "From Mark, Mom, please. This is a misunderstanding. I didn't know the house was in your name. The kids are crying. Please talk to me." From Samantha, "Helen, I think this is getting blown out of proportion. If you were bothered by the text, I apologize. Let's talk like civilized adults." The shift in tone was almost amusing, from bossy mother-in-law to pleading Helen. I didn't reply. That afternoon, the community buzzed. Samantha had broken down at the grocery store, accusing me of being ungrateful. The neighbors, silent observers for years, finally spoke. "She owns the house," one woman told her. She had every right to leave. I would have done the same. For the first time, the whispers weren't against me. Sunday morning, the doorbell rang at Linda's house. It was Mark. Unshaven, wrinkled shirt, deep shadows under his eyes. He looked like he'd aged a decade in 2 days. "Mom," he said hoarsely, eyes brimming. "Come in." We sat in Linda's small living room. He couldn't meet my eyes at first. Finally, he blurted, "Why didn't you tell me the house was in your name?" "I did, Mark. For 6 months, every 2 weeks. You said, 'Later, Mom, we're busy. No rush, we're family.' And then you stopped listening." And I stopped reminding. His face crumpled. "I never wanted you to feel this way, but you didn't ask. You didn't look. You let it happen." I handed him my notebook, every expense neatly recorded. Mark flipped through the pages, his hands shaking. Refrigerator, $1,890. Master bathroom remodel, $6,500. Mortgage contributions, $920 every month from my $1,600 pension. His whisper broke the silence. "My God. And that doesn't count the cooking, the cleaning, the childcare. If we valued it like live-in domestic work, that's another $40,000, I said coldly. "I can't pay you that," he said, panicked. "I know. So what do you want? The house? To kick us out?" I looked at him steadily. "I want you to understand what you lost. It wasn't just walls and furniture. You lost me. Your mother. The woman who raised you. The woman you stopped seeing." Mark broke down, sobbing like he hadn't since his father's funeral. Then I placed the USB on the table. "Listen to this alone, not with Samantha. If you hear it together, you'll end up divorced tonight. But you need to hear the truth." He picked it up like it was a bomb. "What's on here?" "The truth, 17 recordings." Mark left silently. And for the first time in years, I felt calm, because this time he couldn't say he didn't know. That night, 9-year-old Ethan showed up at Linda's house, tear-streaked and clutching his backpack. "Grandma," he cried, throwing himself into my arms. "Why did you leave? Dad's sad." "Mom's crying. Lily keeps asking for you." I knelt down. "Sweetheart, Sometimes when people treat you badly for a long time, you have to walk away so they remember how important you are. But this isn't your fault. Do you understand? He nodded. We played dominoes and read stories for 2 hours, just like old times. When Mark came to pick him up, his face was pale, exhausted. Did you listen to it? I asked quietly. He nodded. All of it. Then I'll see you at the notary's office. He didn't argue. Because this time, I set the terms. Monday, 9:45 a.m. The notary's office smelled like old books and coffee. Megan sat beside me, looking every bit the sharp lawyer in her tailored suit. I held the deed envelope in my lap, calm, not nervous, not vengeful, just steady. At 9:52, footsteps echoed on the stairs. Mark entered first, in a gray suit that didn't hide his sleepless nights. Behind him, Samantha. Gone was the arrogant woman in heels and designer perfume. She wore a plain navy dress, no makeup, hair tied back. She looked like someone walking into court, not a family meeting. Good morning, Mark said softly. Good morning, I replied. They sat opposite us. Mr. Salinas, the notary, adjusted his glasses. We are here to resolve a property and occupancy matter. Mrs. Helen Armstrong is the sole legal owner of— We know, Samantha interrupted. Her voice was tight, trembling. Megan arched an eyebrow. Do you also know she invested $136,800 in that property? That you've been living there without a lease for 3 years? That she has every legal right to evict you, collect back rent, or press charges for financial exploitation of a senior? Samantha's hands twisted in her lap. Yes. Mark stared at the table. I listened to all 17 recordings, he said suddenly. His voice cracked. I had no idea, Mom. None. Samantha closed her eyes as if bracing for impact. Mark turned to her, voice rising. You joked about sending her to a nursing home. You laughed with your friends. You said she was a free maid. How could you? I was scared, Samantha burst out. Scared the kids would love her more. Scared Mark would see she was better at everything. I treated her like the people who once looked down on my mom. I became exactly what I hated. And I'm ashamed. I didn't expect that. No excuses, just truth. Megan cleared her throat. My client has 3 legal options, she said, sliding documents forward. 1. Immediate eviction within 30 days. 2. You purchase the house for $136,800 within 90 days. Or 3. Property division and cohabitation agreement, 60% to Helen, 40% to you, legally registered, with conditions. Mark leaned forward. What conditions? I keep my 60%. I rent it out to tenants I choose, I said calmly. They'll pay monthly rent directly to me. You'll share the house with them, just like I shared it with you. Samantha's eyes widened. You want us to live with strangers? I want you to understand what it's like to live in someone else's space. To have to adapt, to be respectful. That was my life for 3 years. And the other condition? Mark asked. Family therapy, I replied. You and I, once a week, 6 months. I'll pay for the first 10 sessions. No, Samantha, just us. If we're going to rebuild, it starts with you and me. Mark's eyes filled. You'd still do that after everything? You're my son, I said softly. You failed me. But I'm not giving up without trying. He walked around the table, knelt at my feet, and whispered, Forgive me, Mom. Please. I held him and cried, not out of weakness, but because, for the first time, he saw me again. Samantha watched, broken. And me? She asked quietly. Is there anything I can do to earn forgiveness? You can start by respecting the tenants I bring in. By teaching my grandchildren what respect looks like. By changing, not with words, but actions. She nodded, tears streaking her cheeks. The documents were signed, 60-40 split. Lease clauses. Legal seals. It was done. 2 weeks later, a moving truck pulled up to 847 Willow Bend. Teresa Campos, a widowed schoolteacher with 2 kids, moved in as my chosen tenants. I supervised the move. Samantha opened the door. Mother, in, Helen, I corrected. She swallowed. Helen. Behind me, Teresa's kids stared wide-eyed at the house. Mark greeted them politely. Samantha muttered something under her breath, then caught my eye and apologized. Welcome, she forced out. That night, Teresa cooked dinner for everyone. The smell of enchiladas filled the house. Samantha came downstairs, confused. What's that smell? Dinner, Teresa said cheerfully. I made extra. Samantha hesitated, the same woman who once ordered me around in my kitchen, then forced a smile. Thank you. It smells great. The kids bonded instantly. Ethan and Teresa's son played video games. Lily shared her room with Teresa's daughter, giddy at finally having a sister. For the first time in years, Samantha wasn't the queen of the house. She was learning to coexist. Meanwhile, Mark and I started therapy. The first session was brutal. Years of resentment, guilt, pain. I let you disappear, he confessed. Because it was easier than facing Samantha. I let my own mother become invisible. I let it happen too, I admitted. Because I was scared to be alone, the therapist nodded. Fear makes us accept what's intolerable. But you're both here now. That matters. And slowly, week by week, we rebuilt. Mark started calling me just to talk, bringing flowers, for no reason, asking about my day. For the first time in years, I felt like a mother again, not a live-in maid. 6 months later, Samantha called me for coffee. Alone, at a Starbucks halfway between us. I've been saving, she said, sliding papers toward me. And I spoke with the bank. I want to buy your 60%, properly, over 5 years. Monthly payments, fair interest. I looked at her, surprised. Why? Because it's the right thing to do, she said simply. You gave us everything. We took advantage. I don't want to owe you in silence anymore. I want to earn this. The numbers were fair. Teresa's family would stay as official tenants even after the transfer. I smiled. Okay. Samantha exhaled, relieved. Thank you for not destroying us when you could have. I gain nothing from destroying you, I said, but watching you grow? That's worth everything. A year later, I live in a cozy apartment downtown. I teach knitting classes twice a week. Linda and I walk every morning. My rent and Samantha's payments give me independence. Peace. Mark visits every Sunday, sometimes with the kids, sometimes alone. We cook together again, like when he was little. Samantha sends photos, updates, recipes she's tried. She's changed. Not perfectly, but genuinely. Did I get my family back? Not entirely. Some scars don't vanish. But I got something more important. Myself. One day, Lily handed me a drawing, me standing in front of the house, suitcase in hand, smiling. My grandma Helen, the bravest woman I know. She knew when to leave and when to come back. It hangs framed on my wall, because that's what this story is really about. Not bitterness, not destruction, but dignity, boundaries, self-respect. When Ethan asked, Grandma, do you regret leaving that night? I didn't hesitate. Never, I said, because leaving saved me. If Helen's story touched you, if you've ever had to choose between staying where you're hurt or walking away to protect your dignity, tell me in the comments. Share where you're watching from, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful real-life revenge and redemption stories. Because love without respect isn't love, it's habit. And habits that hurt you are meant to be broken.